right, Bill Barnwell, I think his name is. That's one of the perks, the few perks of having ESPN Plus. He did his rankings of the running backs, and he had Jahmyr Gibbs number 3 in the league. The only two he's behind was Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. This wasn't fantasy neither. Like I said before, I mean, I don't think it was any surprise to people who knew football about what Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley was going to do. I think I had a fantasy team at the job with both of them, and people were like, why did you take both of them? Like, to me, it was common sense. You put Saquon with those guys in Philadelphia. You put Derrick Henry, with Lamar Jackson. To me, it was a no. It was absolutely a no fucking brainer. What they was about to do, it shocked me none. I expected it, right? But Jahmyr Gibbs, most people think, oh man, he should go full time. He should go full time. You don't need to. They don't need to be the full-time back. Because the thing about it is you want to get the most out of them. You want to let David Montgomery, take some abuse, soften the defense up, and then sprinkle Jahmyr Gibbs in there. And I know people say, oh, he should be the full-time back. No, you really want to have him when it matters the most. When you're going into November, December, especially when you're going into January, that's when you want him to be at his freshest. Not this whole road this detour brought me all the way back around with no fucking progression, which was crazy. This is bananas, bro. But yeah, so yeah, that's the thing about it, man. So, but yeah, shit, a lot of people, the Falcon fans argue, well, Bijan Robinson had that offensive line. Now they say it's questions about the Lions offensive line with Ragnar being gone and this, that, and the third, and people having their questions about that. We shall see. We shall see. But, the two ahead of him, I have no issue with that. They have phenomenal years. Phenomenal. But, Gibbs, you putting them above guys like, and I like Bijan Robinson. I thought that's who they should have took. Obviously, I don't know what I was talking about. Jahmyr Gibbs is it. Stick of dynamite. And I think him and J-Mo changed I felt like they changed the complexity of the offense. And I think, and I say this all the time, defensively, I felt like they should have they should do the same thing. They need about 2 or 3 dynamic players on defense that's very, very athletic and fast. They don't have it. Aiden Hutchinson, that's really pretty much about it. Everybody else ain't really a super athlete. So they need about 2 or 3 more players like that. But nonetheless, you put them over guys like Bijan Robinson, James Cook. You go around the league and start looking, shit, on the division ain't really no good. Oh, you got Josh Jacobs in the division. Guys like Kamara, and you start looking around, and Christian McCaffrey, and he had an injury last year. Start looking, and you like, and now he's exploded on the scene. They're winning games. They have a spotlight on them. And like I said, him and Montgomery. When Montgomery was gone, he stepped it up. But the thing about it is, you don't want to use them all up. You want to get the most out of your investment, and for him, you want to get to that contract, as many contracts as you can, to get that bread. That's what you want to do. You want to get to many contracts as you can. So Montgomery is doing you a favor. He's keeping you fresher. So, but yeah, man, I don't have an argument with him. I'm trying to think any other running back you really could argue to really that can be in that argument. So I'm starting to think you can't put the kid Jonathan, what's his name, from Indianapolis. He kind of slipped a little bit. Who else you got? James Cook. He was balling last year, but he quite not there. Denver really ain't got no running back. Kansas City, they got no running back. The Raiders, they got Genty now, so we'll see what Genty can cook up. The Chargers, they really ain't got shit. The Dolphins, Dre Archer. A lot of people saying we could have just drafted Dre Archer down the line. You see the difference between Dre and I like Dre Archer, but you see the difference between Dre and Gibbs. You have people saying that. So really, it make a lot of sense. So other than maybe the Atlanta Falcon fans arguing Bijan Robinson and stuff like that, really ain't no argument. Gibbs is it. People say if he had a full-time role like Saquon, and he would be, but shit, like I said before, you got a good balance between Montgomery and him. Why fuck that up? Gibbs still getting his opportunities. Montgomery still doing this thing. They keep each other fresh, and then you really want to see if Samoy Vaki, what he can bring to the table. You still got Craig Reynolds. What can these guys bring to the table? To take the load off these guys. But he's just not a track star. He's kind of like what happened when you get a super athlete, but he's a football player. A lot of guys you get that's just track stars. The Marquise Goodwins, they're not good football players. One thing you see about Tyreek Hill, super athlete, but he's a very good football player, phenomenal football player. Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams, super athletes, but they great football players. So they football players, but you don't get that combination too often. That's the wild thing about it. You don't get that combination too often. So you don't get that combination the way you really want to get that combination. So and when you get two guys that are great athletes and they football players, you draft them. So him being the third best running back in the league, I can't argue it. But the top three running backs is what happens when you got great quarterbacks or great offenses, and it's just not them relying on the running back. Many years, the Lions relied on Barry, the Rams relied on Dickerson. For years, they relied on Walter Payton. And a lot of these teams didn't have no aerial attack. A lot of these teams, they couldn't toss the football. And now you're getting offenses where they can toss the football and they can run. Now, they open up running lanes. What you going to do with Detroit? You going to stack the box and get burnt by St. Brown and J-Mo and Laporta? Or you going to, stay back and play too high and get killed by the running game? Same thing with Baltimore. What you going to do? Stack the box and force Lamar to beat you with his arm? He doing that now. We're going to fall back and, let Henry and Lamar run all over us? You see Saquon, well, how can you stop him? Him and Gibbs in the passing game, you want to stack the box? I can catch it out the backfield. Want to stack the box? Well, Jalen Hurts, I could throw it down the field. Stack the box, I could throw a screen to Saquon. Stack the box, I still can handle it to Saquon. He can go 70 yards. Daily offense. So, hey, thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. The subscribe button is the bell icon button. Hit all notifications. Christian Chance, get notifications. We go live with drop video. Hit the first link in the description. Follow me on X, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Appreciate the love and support. Peace.